Welcome to the Slice and Slice podcast. I'm your host, Dekel, with my co-host, Evie. By the way, can I say your last name on the podcast?
Of course.
Okay, great. We are joined by a beautiful guest, Dan Orrelle. Welcome here, AKA Bboy Zuko.
That's right. Thanks for having me here.
It's great to have you on the pod.
Hell yeah.
Thank you for being here. This is 14th episode, so
Wow.
strap in.
What did you say the name of the podcast is again?
Slice and Spice.
Slice and Spice.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, we'll kick right into it. So, Dan, what's it like to be the best b-boy in town?
Whoa. Wow, jumping right into Stam. I couldn't even say that I am the best b-boy in town. I don't even know if that's true. But I put a lot of effort into being a b-boy, and I like it. Nothing that I've ever done has actually given me the signal that I'm the best b-boy in town. I've never actually won a competition, first place, or won anything for that matter. But I definitely know that I'm a hard worker, and I know that much, and I know that I enjoy it.
For us unintellectuals, a beat boy is breakdancing?
A b-boy is the nickname for a breakdancer. Basically, every b-boy has their own nickname as well. So it would be b-boy, and then a name that you would give yourself, or a b-girl, right? And so a b-boy stands for like a break boy or a break dancer. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's just the nickname that you give everyone.
Wait, what's your nickname?
My name's Bboy Zuko. It's a reference to Avatar and Zuko. It's my favorite character.
The greatest show of all time.
Exactly, basically. And
Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones.
And Breaking Bad.
And Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I don't know, Breaking Bad is a little different. It's more about drug dealing. I don't know.
I really liked Breaking Bad. I really like Game of Thrones, and I really, really liked Avatar. But they're all just really different, and they're kind of categories of.
Also, two of them have good endings, and one of them doesn't.
No, yes, that's
yes,
right.
Yes,
that's right.
yes.
No, that's right. I had to think for a second.
Yeah, but the end of Breaking Bad just wasn't that good.
I loved it.
I know. I'm saying it was Game of Thrones.
Yeah, no, Game of Thrones is ass. But my girlfriend just finished her first watch of Breaking Bad.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I just
yesterday.
watched it once.
Yeah, same. I watched it once, and that was my second time watching it with her, and she just finished it, and it was awesome. It's still as thrilling as it is in the first watch, because even when you know what's gonna happen, it's still shot so beautifully, and it's like told so well.
Yeah, it's pretty bomb.
It's awesome. Makes me want to make math. You heard it here first.
I mean, fuck it, you're in chemistry, dude. Go for it.
Hell yeah, chemistry boys. Let's go.
I mean, it's probably not that hard to cook it up. I'm sure you could ask your teacher.
I'm
She'd probably know
sure
how
I
to do it.
could. Wow, Lihi.
Did Lihi guys send you a problem after the bomb
Lebanon
thing?
explosion? Yeah. She told our group she wanted us to calculate the amount of kilojoules produced from the explosion, which is like how much energy.
Did you learn that?
No. No, but we calculated it anyway. She just gave us a couple netonim and things, and one of us had to calculate it. It wasn't me. But I thought it was funny. It was it's an interesting question to give. It's also a questionable question to give. But yeah.
I think it's a great way to teach when you're just kind of give a real world problem and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think it's awesome to kind of relate what we're also studying in class to, and use it in real life and kind of have it, what's the word? Have it, not useful, relevant in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that makes learning much more interesting as well.
Yeah, it keeps you engaged. It makes you also, think in other ways of how can I relate what I'm learning in class to the rest of real life, just not only in this situation and crazy explosions, but also just day-to-day life. Like, I learned why, some foods are purple, like some cabbages, are purple. Mm-hmm. It's because of the base in them. It's the chemical. It's like, oh, I didn't even know that until I just learned that in chemistry. I'm like, that's totally a fun fact to tell on a podcast,
So why are they purple? I'm sure you two nerds can tell me why.
No, I don't know why it's purple, but we know that I know that purple is the signifying color of a base, as opposed to an acid, which is more green, I think, or yellow, if I'm right.
What's a base?
Correct me.
Alright, so I'm gonna be completely honest with you. The second I finished chemistry, kind of most of that shit just flew out of my head.
Alright.
But I think it's because there's, I don't even know what that is it's probably just an indicator. There are like certain things that, they react when they're with a base, and then there's a color. And then cabbage is one of them. But a base is, bro, how do you explain what
Okay,
it's
so
simple.
chemicals that are in water, in homogenic irbuv homogeny, right? It's you measure a pH through the pH meter. pH meter determines how acidic it is or how base it is. Basically, acidic is like what we taste, it's like acids and stuff, and the base is the opposite of that. And so the pH ranges from -7 to 7. -7 being 0 to 14.
Yeah.
0 to 14, sorry. Yeah, and so 7 is the middle. If your pH level is between 7 and 14, it's acidic, right? Or basic. It's okay. Either it's 7 to 14, it's either basic or acidic, and then 0 to 7, it's one of those two. And then each watery substance has a pH level.
What is khumsa?
Khumsa is acid.
Acid. So it's under 7.
Yeah. So under 7, 0 to 7 is an acidic chemical, and then 7 to 14 is a basic chemical. And then basic chemicals, they're indicators. Indicators are the chemicals that you put into these watery substances to find out if it's acidic or not. And then those indicators change colors. And then when a chemical is basic, then it turns purple, right? Mm-hmm. When it's acidic, I think it turns either yellow or green, or one of those.
No idea.
He doesn't remember.
Yeah.
I should remember because I need to do a bagut in this.
No, but the colors isn't something you need to know.
Yeah, but also it's just the thing that generally interests me.
Yeah.
Like,
so you like chemistry?
I do like chemistry. I think it's really cool. Not specifically all the calculations and all the boring parts of it, but just the kind of the crazy concepts that you learn from it. Like, just about the structure of atoms and how they all build together, and that just different structures and different ways that atoms are put together just create different chemicals and different things, but it's all made of the same quarks and same just fundamental pieces of reality. Shit got deep, but it's just really interesting to me how just having a different shape of something and it clumped so tightly together, all these atoms, that in the big, when you really zoom out from the perspective of humans, then it's just completely different materials. And I find that really fascinating. Just a lot of different aspects about chemistry that really kind of make you think. And it's literally what builds up reality. And it's really, really cool. So I like the super small things, but also the really, really big things, like on a cosmic scale and on a universal scale, and all those theoretical sciences I just find super interesting to try and think about. Because it's unfathomable things. We can't imagine things that are so small. We can't imagine things that are so big. But it's awesome to fantasize about it and try to get your head around it. I just find that super fun. And so what better way to, indulge myself into those type of subjects by studying at school. So that's why I like chemistry.
That was a really good answer. Oh shit. Okay, that was a really good answer. I don't think if anyone has ever gone off that long. You want to explain why you like chemistry?
I mean, bro, I'm gonna be honest. I don't really have I can't really explain why I like it.
Everything else looked boring.
Here's the thing. No, chemistry was actually like the one thing at school that was interesting. At the same time, though, even though I like chemistry, are we okay? What's reading here, bro? We good?
Yeah, I think that's from outside.
Oh, okay.
It's not
it's not something, I don't know about you, Dan, but even though I enjoyed chemistry, it's not something I would want to continue doing.
Pursue.
Yeah, it's not something I would pursue. as a career in one way or another? I don't know. What about you?
It's definitely an interesting question that I've been thinking about a lot because I'm a very devoted dancer, but I also find a lot of interest in these sciences and things like that. And so the ideal situation would to have a balance between the two. If it's to be a full-time dancer and part-time chemist, or full-time chemist and part-time dancer, it's a really hard decision. But right now in my life, I'm aiming to more towards art and dance, but from the realistic perspective of what actually brings in more money and what can I realistically explore more. Actually, no, that's not true. Chemistry and dance, I can study both endlessly, but in terms of really growing up and being in the real world and wanting to maybe start a family and live somewhere, I really need to get money, and dance is not a good career for that.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Dancing does not have a lot of money in it. If I would want to survive off of dancing, it would be from performing, and those performances would be contemporary. Like, the plan would be to move to Holland after the army and study in the Netherlands Dance Theater, which is the biggest, most yokrati kind of moderni dance troupe in the world. And they have different age groups, but the center kind of main prime time dancers is called NDT2, which is where it's the 18 to 21-year-olds, which I won't have the opportunity to join because I have to serve. But afterwards, it's considered, it's an amazing opportunity to even meet dancers from there and study there at all. And I had the opportunity.
Your country, easy.
Yeah. But no, so I actually had an awesome experience where these NDT dancers came to do a workshop in Israel last year, 2 years ago. And I really got to personally meet two of the dancers, and I didn't even know much about the dance troupe before that, but it was such an eye-opening experience because more than just being talented dancers, they're really deep people. They have a very deep understanding of what it is to be in terms of meditation, in terms of just mudot atzmit, like self awareness, yeah, of just with their body and with their mind. And they really gave us a kind of a 2 hour, half of it a 2 hour session, half of it was just meditation, like we weren't even dancing. And it was just such an awesome experience for me because I had never seen anything like it. I had never felt anything like it. And I really wanted, it kind of pushed me in a direction to want to pursue that and at least have it a part of my life for as long as I can. Chemistry is just a personal, thing that I like. But, a lot of YouTube, a lot of Neil deGrasse Tyson and all that stuff just kind of keeping me hooked on it.
So I think it's really, I didn't know about this meditation thing. So what do they do there with you? What is it like? What does this mean by the whole going deep and meditating? How that look like? So
what we did is so it was two dancers, Tess and I forgot the other one's name. I'll use Tess as the example. And so they got everyone, all the dancers who were there to experience the workshop, to stand spread out across the room, not facing any wall in particular, just wherever. And at first they would put on very kind of shallow ambient music, right? And even just white noise. And they would tell us all to close our eyes, and they would guide us through a very kind of body awareness experience. Kind of, have you seen the Midnight Gospel? Have you seen the Midnight Gospel?
Not.
What? You guys are crazy.
What is that?
Okay, I'll get to that in a bit.
Okay.
Basically, during the dance thing, they all had us kind of just standing, had our eyes closed, and they were talking to us. They were guiding us to just, feel different parts of, if they really connected our emotions to our movement and to our body. And the thing that I found really fun about it is that everyone had their eyes closed, and so nobody can see each other. And so you don't have that passive pressure of people maybe judging you, or people, even if you have a lot of confidence, when you're being watched, you have that type of awareness and you have that pressure.
Yeah.
But when you're confident that you're not being watched, like you're dancing in your room by yourself in front of the mirror, then you really express yourself truly. And so I was happy to be able to express myself truly, even with other people watching me, even with professional dancers watching me, and they were just able to get that out of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, I want to learn how to get people to feel this way too. I want people to feel very artsy and very free with their mind and not have to care about what other people think about them. So that was awesome.
That's really cool. So actually, this brings me to a question I wanted to ask you. Since you're very devoted to dance, and I know you love the art, and obviously it's a great tool for expression. Do you believe that everyone should be like taught to dance,
I think,
or learn to use their body?
I think everyone should be exposed to it at least at some point in their life. Just like religion, I think it's something you should be taught. You should be knowledgeable to an extent about it. Know it and then choose to do it or not, because you can only know if something's good for you or not until you've experienced it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's worthwhile to at least get everyone to have at least one or two experiences of real authentic good experiences of what it's like to dance and to what it's like to move your body in an expressive way that makes you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you want to ever do you see yourself as being as a dance teacher?
Not professionally. Not no, I don't want to be a dance teacher. I appreciate good dance teachers, and good dance teachers are never only dance teachers. They're
Mhm.
also dancers themselves. The
That's
best teachers that I've had were dancers in their prime who were not professionally teaching at the moment, but also rather performing and creating themselves.
Yeah.
Because when they understand it themselves perfectly and they know what's good for them, then they know how to also give it on. And what better time to do that when you're in your prime doing that? Because that's what you love doing. It's not just because you're getting paid to do it. It's because you genuinely devote yourself to the art. So yeah, I don't want to be a teacher. I want to dance for myself as long as I can, but I do like to teach. I just don't want to be a teacher. Right?
Uh-huh.
There's a difference. So
Damn,
yeah.
that's deep. I didn't think about that. That's cool.
I don't trust myself to be also constantly spewing information to students and them getting used to me, because I feel like I'm more of a kind of, you can hear my perspective, and if I can deliver it in a 2-hour session, then take what you want from it.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming from me now. I'm 16 and I'm developing myself as a dancer. I'm still finding my personality. And I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I'm dancing a lot right now in my life. So that's why I'm focusing more on myself. I don't want to pass on knowledge that I don't yet have necessarily.
So can I ask you, as a dancer, what's like you said, like, find yourself as a dancer? What does that
It's
mean?
it's a very general statement. You'll hear that a lot with, you're finding yourself as a this, you're finding yourself as a that. It's, to me, finding yourself as a dancer is not even related that much to dance, but also to just developing and growing physically and mentally. It's you simply develop more personality. You learn from past mistakes. You are curious to learn in the future. It's always new enlightenment in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And especially at our age, it's a crazy age. We're growing really fast and our brains are developing really quickly. And it's such an exciting and emotional phase in our life that being a dancer and having a way to express that is what I like doing, is what I love doing. And so finding myself as a dancer is really, it's reflecting once in a while as to who I am now. How am I different than I was? How will I be different? And it's developing a unique sense. It's being different from others. It's being your own unique personality, which either it is interpreted in your physical movements, it's interpreted in the way that you talk, in the way that you think, in the people that you hang out with, and just how you spend your time, your hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
And so finding myself as a dancer, the dance is my hobby. It's the thing that I do. And yeah, that's what it is to me. It's also it's just developing as a whole.
So, okay, so I have a question. At what point did you realize I want to be a dancer, and why did it happen?
That's
Or how?
that's a good question. I started dancing when I was 8 years old. Stories that my family and I were living in Australia for a period of 8 months in 2011, and so I was signed up to school there. And one day we went on a on a 3-night field trip to an island right off the coast of Australia, and it was with no parents. It was my class and all the teachers and everything. It was a school, and it was really fun. And on the last night, there was this after party. This in the huge cafeteria room. It was kind of like a cabin place. There was a big dance party, and me being in 3rd grade, being kind of fat, chubby, and not knowing how to dance at all. I've always been a dancer. I always liked dancing.
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of an active kid, but I wasn't good at it. There were these two probably 5th or 6th graders who I saw at the party who were breakdancing. And they were doing some crazy moves, these really acrobatic and athletic things that I just thought it was just like the rawest, coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, how can a person it's like seeing a real life ninja, right?
I've never seen anyone breakdancing at a party unless there's like a big circle that they create.
So it was that kind of,
okay.
it was the last party, and then there was like, the DJ usually puts on some cool song, and then there's like, oh, the breakdancers, they all do the big circle. So, but it was really cool to see that because, they get a lot of attention, they get a lot of praise, and respectively, because it's hard work what they're doing. And I just thought it was so cool to see it. And so when we came back from that field trip, I'm like, Mom, sign me up, do whatever you need to do, just get me to the thing, And it wasn't exactly like that, but eventually I just started breakdance classes, and at first it was really rough. At first I was actually not having that much fun, because it was fun to be able to do it, but I was impatient. I wanted to be like those kids who were just doing everything and doing all these moves. But my parents were really cool about it, and they convinced me to. They said, okay, finish a year of it, and then decide. That's what they say about any hobby that they give their children, that they let their children try, is that you have to do it for a year.
A year is a long time.
It's like a year of like one practice a week, an hour and a half a week.
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually, after a year, even as an 8-year-old kid, you start to get better. And after that year, it gave me the time to really also think that I do want this, and that I do want to spend the time to get better at this craft. And so at the end of the first year, I was already motivated to continue the second year.
Mm-hmm.
And then from the second to the third, and every year, I learned new things, not only about dance, but also just about myself and about, life. It's crazy how much it relates, and the relation that I found between dance and just general life. And so every year my connection to it just got stronger and stronger. There wasn't any one specific moment that I was already dancing and that it got me devoted. It all just came from that first night that I was exposed to it, and that I'm like, I should try this out. And I got super lucky because that was the exact thing that I wanted to try out. And
really cool.
Yeah, I'm approaching my 9th year now, the beginning of the school year.
That's insane. But like, was there any point in time where you're like, okay, I want to do this professionally?
Probably. Ooh, that's a really good question. At what point did I decide that I want to continue doing this into my adult life and kind of do this professionally? Probably when I flew to my first competition outside of Israel. It was with my breakdance teacher. So our breakdance teacher.
Waito?
No, Niv specifically.
Oh, okay.
I was already devoted to breakdance before Niv or Ginger was our breakdance coach, but I just didn't know how much I wanted to fill my life with it and just pursue it until he came along, and he's a perfect example of a man who is doing it professionally and doing it full time. This is his job. He's a full-time dance teacher. He flies every month to compete, and he also has his own things going for him. Like he's getting a degree in computer sciences now.
Oh yeah.
right?
Huh.
And he did Khamesh Yechidot math in high school and all these crazy things that it's like you can have a life like a school life and a normal, life,
Yeah.
quote unquote, but also have this crazy breakdancer life and really be a breakdancer full time.
Mhm.
And so that really inspired me to also it kind of gave me an indicator that it's like, oh, I can do this, I can
Mhm.
also be like him because he really likes the craft, he loves what he's doing, and I also really love it. And he says, he got into this lifestyle because he just pursued what he loved doing and he was good at it, he worked hard. And so that really inspires me and it shows me that I can also do it. And so once we really flew out of the country for the first time to Prague, to an international competition, and I got to experience an amazing competition and see a world-class level competition and see all these people who, like my teacher, have devoted their lives to it. And that's even more inspiring, to be just in a room with hundreds of people who are like him, and it's hundreds of people who I also want to be like.
Mhm.
And so at that moment I was like, yeah, this is a thing that's sticking,
Yeah. And so it's always been breakdance for you?
It always has been breakdance since the start, until about 2 years ago. I was like, I want to spread my wings a bit more, kind of enlarge my knowledge. And because I learned from a lot of different dancers that a way that they improved their breakdance and their technique and their way of thought, the way that they think, is by also learning contemporary and modern and ballet, because it's a complete different theory of dance. It's a way of moving your body. If breakdance is kind of grungy and dirty and acrobatic and kind of, it just screamed scoliosis, then ballet and contemporary is like, toned, strict, smooth movements. And I think learning the two and being knowledgeable in both can create a beautiful just mixture of movement and way of thought and personality. When you mix personality in with all these different art styles, then it's an awesome clash of culture and knowledge and just expression. And yeah, so I started learning contemporary and ballet, also through the school and also through the academia, and just by myself at home in front of my mirror.
Oh yeah, you also practice on the contemporary at home?
Yeah. I mean, I do. Mm-hmm. There isn't really a way to practice contemporary. I mean, the practice is just the dance itself. There isn't. Contemporary is how would I explain it? There isn't a base to it, right? There isn't a basic set of movements. Those all come from ballet. Ballet is everything's determined. There is no room for personality in ballet. But but contemporary, it's only about personality. It's just about how your body moves specifically. And so it's different to every dancer, so you can't have one kind of, scripture.
So is contemporary based, I mean, I might be just generalizing too much, but is it basically just expressing what you're feeling and just moving with the music?
Yeah.
There's like no rules
to me, that's what it is to me, at least. I just, when I say I'm a contemporary dancer and when I say I'm dancing contemporary right now, it's simply just putting on a song that I love, a song that represents the feeling that I'm feeling or a mood that I'm in. And when it hits the spot of, this is exactly how I'm feeling, then it also unlocks this kind of way to just, oh, this is exactly how I feel when I move like this, or I move like this exactly when I feel like this. And it's just pure expression. Yeah.
So, but could contemporary also count, like if I was dancing to like sicko mode, for example?
Yeah.
And I was kind of like hitting some moves. Does that count as contemporary if I'm feeling the moves, or does it have to still be under sort of kind of like, because when I think of contemporary, I'm thinking of like people are just low.
Yeah, you're thinking of
But if I was just kind of like hitting the nay and stuff, like is that? But that's what I'm feeling. So like.
So, okay, so yeah, so you can So in that case, contemporary dance isn't just expressing how you feel. It's expressing how you feel in a non-mainstream way, I guess you can say, because hitting the whoa and doing all these crazy moves, those are all categorized under hip hop.
Yeah.
They are contemporary moves in the sense that contemporary is modern and those are new and they're made, in the past couple years. But it's under the category of hip hop because those specific moves, this specific, the whoa it's repeated in the same way as everyone, right? But contemporary, say you're hitting the whoa. Contemporary is like hitting the whoa in a whoa that nobody's ever seen, right? It's creating that whoa, and it's not repeating the same thing a bunch of people, which it can also be, right?
Yeah.
Meaning when you learn a choreographed dance, it can still be it's contemporary. You can learn a contemporary dance. It's a good question though about all these hip hop. When you're feeling it and you're hitting the shoot or whatever it's called, the hype, then it's important to feel it because that's dancing.
Yeah.
Feeling that energy kind of in your chest. That's what I always feel, or just kind of that rush through your whole body. That's what I feel is dancing. The specific moves that you're doing, those are represented through different categories of dance. Contemporary doesn't have a strict definition. It's specific to every person. So essentially, every move can be considered contemporary. Yeah.
Okay, so it's basically very subjective.
Yeah, it's really, it's also, it depends on the person, depends on the mood, there's so many variables.
Yeah. So how do you teach contemporary?
That's a good question. See, there's no one teacher to contemporary that I feel. There are just people's takes on it, right? So, because if each contemporary dancer has their own personality and their own way that they look when they move, then those specific people can teach their perspective on it, their way that they think, and everyone thinks differently. And so the way to learn contemporary is to actually take as many perspectives in and as many ways of thought. There's like always just, it's like a code in a computer.
Yeah.
You can code a game, say, to do a certain action, but there's like, I'm guessing there's 2 or 3 different ways that you can type the code.
I mean, it's probably like a million.
There's a million.
Yeah.
There's a million ways that you can type a code, but it'll have the same result, right? When you click this button, this happens. But if you click that button, then that same thing can happen. I'm just throwing examples. I don't know computer science, but I do know that in contemporary, it's just about getting as many different ways of thinking. It's unlocking different ways of expressing too. So there's no one teacher.
And for the future, if you do pursue professional dance, is there any chance you might do something that's not breakdance?
That's the direction that if I do pursue it professionally in a performance way, it would only be contemporary. Breakdance is always going to be a part of my life. I'm always going to be competing until I physically can't. So yeah, I'm always going to be doing breakdance and I'm always going to be in that culture and always part of it and flying for it. But in terms of money, in terms of pursuing it professionally, I would be a contemporary dancer because I feel like that's more an authentic, elegant profession.
Yeah.
Saying I'm a modern or I'm a ballet dancer, I'm in the biggest school in the world that performs everywhere, all over the world, is a bit more. It sounds a bit more professional than I break dance at competitions against other kids my age.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. Ballet is a bit.
It's a bit rough.
It's very it's very superficial, I feel like.
In what way?
It's not there's not much room for creativity.
Yeah.
It's basically you do this, if you do it really well, good shit. And
Yeah, if you
don't,
do it wrong, you get
Yeah.
a staple
But-
in your neck or
yeah,
whatever.
right.
Like,
it's like, let's see who does the twirl the best, basically. It's not like, let's see who does the twirl the most creative way possible.
that's why it's one of the most competitive dances and the most stressful dances in the world, is because there isn't room for personality there.
Mhm.
The judge, if you're at a ballet competition, which I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I know that you're performing on a stage in front of judges. You don't have room to express yourself, and so if you do something wrong, it's not just, oh, it's her style. No, it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's wrong or right. And so then the pressure comes, it's a matter of pure skill and how much you practice and how strict you are. And that's why ballet dancers, I feel, are just unhealthy. If they're physically super healthy, but mentally, I think it's the most destructive dances you can have.
Is there a way to know with like contemporary breakdancing, for example, if something is a mistake or just the person expressing themselves?
Yeah,
How do you necessarily know if one or the other?
I don't know to say exactly for contemporary, but usually you can sense, especially in breakdance, also in contemporary though, you can sense when somebody falls or if there's a crash.
If I hit my back, for example.
If you're trying to do a backflip and you land on your neck,
No, but yeah, no.
it's not a lot of
But there's probably a
creative.
difference between just failing and making a slight mistake with your movement.
So say like a
you know?
slip here.
Yeah.
Usually, you can sense a mistake when you know a dancer's personality and how they look when they dance. You kind of get used to their scripture. You get used to their theory of movement. And when it breaks it, when it goes out of line, you can sense it usually. Not always. It depends on how big the mistake is, but there's a difference between kind of a twitch here, a misstep to completely tearing a muscle, and like dying, breaking your teeth on the floor.
But I think for breakdance it's pretty simple, right? There's pretty simple rules. It's stay on the beat, and any for breakdance, it's basically stay on the beat and do anything that is part of a basic movement. I found like movement
Variations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's that's it basically. And also, I mean, a mistake, for example, would be,
Usually mistakes are called crashes in breakdance, because it's like you're crashing on the floor. But yeah, you can also just say kind of oopsie.
yeah, I guess. So, yeah. Like if you're meant to do something and then you kind of miss it, I guess that would be a mistake.
Yeah. It also depends if the other dancers know that you're intending to do something or not. Usually you can tell, if you're jumping into a handstand but you fall. At first, breakdance is definitely comprised of staying on beats and not falling. But there's such a huge aspect to how it's built, especially in the competitive scene. Breakdance is a dance built around competitions. The way that it started, it was in the 70s in Harlem in New York, America, and it was during it was a huge poverty. It was a lot of poor black people, a lot of racism, all that shit. It's fucked up.
Still poverty, I think.
Still
sure.
is. Still is. But the way that gangs in New York would actually reduce physical violence between each other, is instead of stabbing each other, they would have dance-offs. They would have breakdance, and the way that it sounds funny, but but when you think of breakdance, you think of crazy kind of manly, really sporty, grungy moves, and just crazy acrobatic athletes. And when you're displaying such skill on a concrete pavement in New York, in the 70s, that can really show, wow, he's a man. He's probably stronger than me. He's better than me. And it was a movement that was meant to replace violence, gang violence. And so it was birthed through competition. It's to determine I'm better than you. And that's the way that it still is represented today. And so the elements that really build breakdance in the competitive scene is how I display competition towards you, how I show that I'm better and cooler than you. And that also is displayed through how clean your movements are, how original they are, how hard they are. And it's being on beat, it's being aware of all these different aspects and performing and getting it 100%. And even then, there isn't one, person who's the best, because there's personality. There's being unique. And so you can, and so a lot of times it's up to judges to determine, oh, I like this person's style specifically more than this, and for no reason other than that's their personal preference. So that's why it's so fun to be able to do different competitions with different judges, and because you might come last place in one competition, but come first place in the next one, just because of the circumstances. And yeah.
Huh. I don't know. I mean, but personality doesn't take that much of the point threshold. Like, because you have certain points for certain things, right? For like how clean it is, how creative you are, how if you're on beat and musicality. So it's not just your style. Like
exactly, no, it's comprised of all those things. Yeah. But when it comes to a person who is judging you and determines if you are better than the other person or not, if both, I'm talking on a world-class level, if both people have all the fundamentals down.
Oh, okay.
Like
I see what you mean.
Power moves, musicality, beat, like staying on beat, on the rhythm. It's a given almost that these dancers are experienced and they know what they're doing. Then it comes down to how they play on it, how they play with those elements that they have. And if they can pull it off in an awesome way, it's just simply, it's more fun and cool to watch than the other person. And that's usually also determined by the crowd who's watching. It's very hype based, you know. Mm-hmm. Someone does a cool move, the whole crowd's cheers. Whoa, crazy. And it's the dance is meant to show competition, but it's also just meant to show fun, culture, and just personality and art.
Yeah, that's why I personally don't see ballet as much of a big thing, because basically, and when you see us dance, you think about expressing yourself, right?
That's right.
But like ballet, whereas there's no really room to express yourself unless you're like, man, all these twirls, man, they just really show how I'm feeling right now, like, you know.
There is expression in ballet, not necessarily personal expression. So, ballet was initially built, it still is. I mean, it's as a storytelling technique almost. All these like the Black Swan, Swan Lake.
What is that? I don't know what that is.
Swan Lake is the most famous ballet, like mahazeh in the world.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
It's a whole story. It's a whole kind of show shown through ballet, and even if the dancers themselves aren't expressing their personal, thoughts and opinions and feelings, even they're still expressing a personality. They're showing a character, even through these very, very strict movements, because as strict and hard as they are, they're also very elegant. They're very smooth. They're very light, and they can also be heavier. They can be harder. They can be. There's so many aspects of it that can show different emotions. It's not self-expression, but it's expression. Mm-hmm. And I actually really, really connected to that type of feeling of when I practice ballet. I kind of love feeling like a very elegant type of I'm doing everything like a professional Russian, It's cool to kind of feel all like even if I'm not showing, even if it's not who I actually am.
Yeah,
it's fun to be able to display it.
I see what you're saying, but yeah, there's no buts there.
The thing about breakdancing though, like how you said it was created, that is some Animal Kingdom voodoo shit. I did not know.
Yeah,
that sounds so weird to me, bro.
It's like, I'm gonna beat you in a dance off instead of stabbing you in the liver.
I don't understand. Is this something that happened just organically, or just the head of all these mafias were like, listen,
we gotta breakdance.
No. They're just like, listen, we gotta figure out a way to deal with some of these feuds, but without stabbing each other, because we got nobody left.
It's literally that. So it's literally that.
So it didn't happen organically. They kind of like artificially made it happen.
No, it was a natural process of.
Mm-hmm. But it was intentional in the point of they try to figure out a way to solve their problems without violence.
This came from the people who did not want violence. This came from gangs who had from people who had lost loved ones and who have been injured or have killed others and regret it. and they don't want to live that type of lifestyle, right?
Uh-huh.
And especially during the 70s in the Bronx, it's huge poverty. Like, people were pissing and shitting and living in the streets, right? They were living in their own piss.
Yeah.
And there's no way to live, and it's like you're there until you get stabbed and you die. Why? You know, those people were thinking, why? And why not make lemonade out of lemons? And they created a whole type of dance. So they created a happy, positive thing. It's now seen as happy and positive, but that then was seen as, you know, an alternative to just straight up gang violence.
So, what if this is the two-state solution we needed? This is what Israel needs, bro.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it didn't take over the entire violent, you know, culture.
Well,
of New York and that 13%.
But still, I don't think the violence in New York and the Bronx and all that is anything close to what it used to be.
Yes, but it still is huge. It's still prominent, and it's still there's still more violence in New York than there is breakdance in New York, I'd say.
Okay, well, yeah.
But when you think of breakdance, you think of New York as well. You think of its origin, and you think of where it came from, and there's no more raw place than just the streets there. It's directly associated to violence and as an alternative.
And then the Koreans took it and they made it their bitch.
They made it their bitch. Absolutely.
The Koreans are the best breakdancers in the whole world.
It's like video games.
Basically.
Yes, they're the best everything in the everything.
Yeah. Like, literally, I told you, our dance teacher got accepted into the Korean team.
Yeah.
They're
Fusion MC represent.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Didn't he say something like, basically, the Korean teams literally don't leave their country for international competitions because literally the competition there is all that matters.
So they have their own competitive scene. They're simply too good. It's not interesting for them to compete internationally because their national competitions are harder.
Yeah. So, you know.
I don't understand how they do that. I just don't understand.
Is there a reason for that? Like, do you know how this happened, or you don't know? I mean, it's the same thing with like how they rule mobile games, but
exactly.
I don't know if there's a good explanation.
They
just kind of do.
So it just got to them. They're like, look at this. This is mine now. Like, I'm God. I have no idea. I'm very interested actually in kind of the history of Korean breakdance and where it started and how it started.
That is interesting.
I'm gonna ask my teacher about that.
Because it is the same thing in video games. I don't get it.
They're simply the best. I don't know how they do it.
But for video games, I know they train them at a young. There's a lot of video game culture is very
Huge.
like it's very big. Like it's very big part of the culture in Korea.
Isn't it also in like America?
I don't think as much as in Korea.
No, I think it's actually bigger in Asian countries, also in China.
Yeah,
and I think specifically in China, it's a huge industry because they had, I think they had all consoles.
Mm-hmm.
So PC gaming is actually huge in China specifically because consoles are banned there, right? So they don't have Xboxes, they don't have PS4s. Yeah. And also like Google Chrome isn't a thing there. They have it's all run by the government.
Yeah.
They have their government run browsers and everything, and so the way to have fun and the way to be productive, not productive, but recreational is through PC gaming, and that's why it's so huge there. And when something's so huge, you know. I don't know enough about Asian cultures, but something about it makes them want to be really good at it.
Yeah.
Really, really good. And so it's interesting. It's awesome.
Did you ever want to be a gamer? Wow. A professional gamer?
Wow. Always. Still am. I mean, if chemistry and breakdance doesn't work,
Would you really want to be a professional gamer?
This is coming from your ex-Overwatch, gold team member. Throwback to a year and a half ago.
Of skill, like I'm not talking in terms of if it's realistic to get to that skill level. Because me, for example, I know even if I wanted to, I could. There's no way I would get to that level. Also, I'm half deaf, so my awareness would never be as good.
Why limit yourself? Why do you put your those barriers up for yourself?
I'm just saying. I think it'd be a little harder.
Who told you?
I can't sound like everybody else.
Who told you though?
It's like saying I want to get into the NBA and you're like a 5'1" guy.
Hey, so one dude did it. Muggsy Bogues was like 5'3", 5'5".
I'm not saying it's gonna be easy, but
it was like Rafa's height and made it to the NBA. Bro, think about that. There's someone like Rafa's height playing the NBA for like 10+ years.
Boom.
That's nuts.
It's like those memes with the cow. It's like your chances of being killed by a cow at any given moment are low, but they're never zero.
But I don't know, man. But also, like, sure. But I meant about video games. I meant more in terms of I look at maybe not being a content creator, but playing video games professionally. Personally, I think it seems like a really not fun career. Just because you spend like 12 hours a day in front of the computer,
sitting on your ass.
You're not doing it. Like, dude, I bet you so many of these gamers also just like have problems or are depressed. Like, bro, it seems like a really think about it. If you play decide to cut down and still want to be professional, you're like, instead of playing 12 hours, I'm gonna start playing 10 hours a day. You're just not gonna be as good then. You're just worse than everybody else.
Yeah, because there's always gonna be another.
Yeah, there's always gonna be that dude who plays
14 hours.
14 hours. Yeah.
It's a good point. I mean, I think also what you said about me deciding to want to be a professional gamer from now, it's problematic because the professional gamers, the 1% of gamers who are professional and making a lot of money, have all been doing it, since childhood. Yeah. And if not, then they are what are they called? Like 1 in a million, like chance of prodigies. They're prodigies.
Bro. I bet you so many of these god tier gamers were blessed with this hand-eye coordination that's just absurd.
No, I mean it's also developed.
Well, obviously, but I'm saying, like, you look at some of these. Listen, I played a lot of video games. I will never have the tracking of some of these players.
Shroud,
Dude, it's just crazy.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to just be FPS shooter games.
That's true.
Just like you feel like, I'll never have the tracking like, Shroud does when he's shooting people in PUBG or whatever. Then I thought to myself when I was on my 2nd and 3rd year of breakdance, wow, I'm never gonna have an air flare. I'm fat, and maybe it's not as big of an achievement, but it's like, it's thinking in.
Can you just explain to Abby what an air flare is?
Sorry, an air flare is it's kind of like the biggest athletic kind of Olympic move that you can do in breakdance. It's widely seen as essentially the hardest move, but it's not.
Yeah, you just want to search it up.
Flare?
Air flare.
Yeah,
yes.
breakdance air flare.
Yeah. It'll kind of blow your mind. We have a little kid. But how old is Jeannie?
Yeah, I don't know, 5th grade.
Probably like 5th or 6th. Yeah, that thing.
Oh my god.
We have a little kid who just does that all day long.
Yeah, he does it for fun. But the thing is, he has no personality. No, his personality is that he's a little shit. Stop! No, I didn't say that.
Looks more like a helicopter.
I mean, yeah, that's basically just doing the helicopter.
Yeah, and so it's like when I was in 5th grade, I didn't think that I was going to be doing that. I can't. But the point is, it's like I never.
He's training.
Thought of
He's
myself.
getting there. He's getting there.
Is that I'm getting there, and it's a goal that is in hand. It's like it's in mind. I'm working towards it now, and it's a goal that I truly believe that I'm going to accomplish. And so the same level of being of wanting to be a professional gamer is like wanting to be a professional competitor out of Israel. I was lucky enough to meet 2 or 3 people who have competed from Israel outside of Israel. Some of them being my teachers, some of them being just mentors. And it's not I would never believe that I can do it if I hadn't met these people, if I wasn't taught by them. So that's why I'm super lucky that, by living in Israel, it's also the breakdance community is much smaller and condensed. And so if there are famous people from Israel, you're more likely to meet them than not at one point or another. And so meeting them kind of gave me the indicator that, yeah, this is not an impossible thing to do. It's like, look, he's right here in front of me. He did it. I have everything going for me. I know that I'm a hard worker, and that I know that I want him to teach me. I want him to mentor me. And so that puts it into perspective. It means that I can do this. So yeah, that's my take on it.
You'll get there.
Thank you.
Yesterday we had a workshop where.
Oh yes, so good.
So we had a power mover, which is basically somebody who's very good at power moves. Power moves are the moves that need a lot of power. It's like the air flare.
Yeah. It's all the acrobatic movements.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. So we had one. He came and he helped us. He coached us yesterday, which I fell on my back, and now it's still sore. But what was shocking to me was that, right? Not to offend you or anything, but he was teaching us a lot of movements, and basically, most of them were basically like killing it. But for example, he was teaching us one movement that seemed kind of simple to me, but it seemed like you were having less of a hard time swipes. Yeah.
No, I'm generally not good at swipes. Shit on me.
Yeah, you just like it's simply like it's not telling you to train, and that kind of like brought perspective that even though you can be like a very good breakdancer, but like you can still know something that you can still like not know something that other people do.
Yeah, you can be missing such a simple thing.
Yeah, bless you. So that was interesting. That was eye opening for me.
Yeah, it's like, as good as someone can be, he can always be, you can be surprised by, something that you have more than him that you just didn't realize. It's like, because in any...
That gives me hope.
Yeah. Well, let me take it away from you real quick. In everything that you do in life, in every subject, if it's dance, if it's computers, if it's gaming, there's always going to be someone who's younger than you and better than you. Always.
Like Genie.
But there's also always going to be someone who's older than you and worse than you. Older than you, not like in the old way, but like,
Yeah. Which is basically me. But yeah.
More experienced, but less good. Yeah, talented, good.
I've always had that problem since the beginning of breakdance, where I always have a fear. I'm like, oh fuck, look at all these kids doing their cool shit, and I'm just like, how do I do a handstand? And basically, I think yesterday I tried to think of it as if I was going to the gym, and like everyone else was like doing like their own like weight, and I was trying to like work on my weight.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of mindset kind of helped me get through it.
It's exactly that.
Yeah.
It's just more pressure because you're being looked at, because the dance is not about. It's not. Weightlifting is like, okay, it's just lifting the weight and doing it because that's your own level. But dancing is about showing it to other people.
Exactly.
It's a craft that's it's meant to be viewed. Because you can't see it yourself. You can't see yourself.
Or meant to be felt. I mean, it depends.
It's meant to be felt.
Or by the perspective.
Exactly.
Of who's looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, I was also, even though I'm younger than you, I mean, through the 9 years that I've been breakdancing, I've met a lot of teachers and I've met a lot of students.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in studios with lots of different students, older and younger than me, of all different levels. And I realized that it's not about, it's not about comparing yourselves to others. It's about knowing what you have and what you will have and what you want to have. It's about taking advice from that little kid who knows how to do 16 air flares and you don't know how to do one. It's because you're finding that opportunity to take knowledge from him. But I also think about what I do have. Like, take for example that Genie kid, right? He's in like 5th grade. He can do crazy acrobatic moves that I may probably only manage, if at all, in a couple years, right? I've got work to do. But what I do have is more thought put into my craft. It's more from the artistic side. I'm more free. I'm more developed physically and mentally than that kid, right? And so I have more input on my creative movement side rather than just the technique and the power of doing it.
Do you think blind people can be good dancers?
Hell yeah. I want to see a blind dancer. That'd be awesome.
That's ironic. Anyways.
I think it'd be yeah.
But like, think about it. If you're blind and you're let's say
that'd be amazing.
You learn how to dance because you just through movement and stuff. But then like, how do you become good?
That'd be so.
If you can't see yourself.
That'd be so interesting to see, because it would be a dancer assuming he'd be blind his whole life.
Yes.
Okay. So we're taking a person who's been blind his whole life, so he doesn't know what dance looks like.
Yeah.
He can only feel what it is. He can only physically know what it feels like to him, and he can feel others dancing, right?
Yeah.
But that means he can't compare himself.
Exactly.
And so that it's pure personality, and that if he's good, that means he's an amazing thinker. He's an amazing, he's devoted to the craft, because if you get good at doing something that you've literally never seen,
yeah,
not even yourself, dude, he doesn't even know if his movements look good, but if he's considered good, it's because people tell him that he is. It's because people think that he is. So he must be doing something right. I'd be super curious to see a good blind dancer.
That is very
He
interesting.
would probably be full of personality.
That's facts right there.
That'd
That's
be
so
super
true.
Cool.
Because if you've never seen anything,
You can
and
never
everything-
take inspiration.
it's like on one hand, yeah, you can't take inspiration. The same thing, anything that comes from you is coming straight from you.
It's raw. It's like, sorry, you can take
Raw.
inspiration, but it's not through visual, it's not visual learning.
But that's most of what dance is. That's the thing.
Yeah. Nakhon. Mostly.
Yes, most.
But then, yeah.
yeah.
That's I'm just putting a dagesh on it, because that little
Spice it
part
up.
that it's the not mostly part of it is the cognitive kind of, the coordination, the ability, the thought behind it, which in my opinion is, if not the most important part of dance, because I dance because I like the physical way that I feel while doing it, because that feeling when I manage a new move in breakdance, or just I figure out a new way of moving my body in a contemporary manner that feels like it's flowy, that it feels like it's appealing to other people and that they like it, then it makes me feel like, wow, I'm part of this culture, I'm part of this group of people, of this okhlusiya that are dancers, and I can call myself a dancer because I feel good about it and I feel confident that other people also think that I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I do it, because I genuinely like the way that it makes me feel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's most important to me. The visual side of learning, it's huge, and that's the mostly part of it, and that's how I mostly develop. But so much of it is also developed by just growing up, just learning.
All right. Anyways, this has been the Slice and Spice podcast. I've been your host, Dekel, with my co-host Evie, and we were interviewing this beautiful guest, Dan Orrelle. Dan, anything you want to plug?
Thank you so much for having me. I didn't know that this was more of an interview than a podcast. But I was.
It just turned out that way, to be honest.
Yeah, I was thinking I didn't want to be the guy who's like hogging out the microphone and.
No, it was good. It was good.
Came out naturally.
Honestly, I had a lot to say about dancing that didn't think about. It's good.
As I was thinking, as the dancer here.
If Evie's impressed by what you said about dance, and that means it's good.
Thank you.
I do see dancing as much not bullshit, but things I didn't really get and look.
No, I know how you feel
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
I totally know how you feel.
It was good to hear this, honestly.
Thanks.
It was very, very eye-opening and a broad perspective. But seriously, do you have anything you want to plug? Like Instagram?
Yeah. Follow me at Bboy Zuko on Instagram.
Go check out his epic dance moves.
If you want to see how I display my thoughts into my physical movements.
Just make it sound really deep. Anything else you want to plug?
At Bboy Palm. He doesn't have an Instagram.
I don't have an Instagram.
But he has a personality.
I do have a personality. I mean, you can go check out this podcast channel.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
All right. This has been the Slice and Spice podcast. Thank you for listening. If you're on YouTube, give us a like and a follow or a subscribe. Post a comment. Tell us what you thought about it. If you're listening on iTunes, please give us a rating. We really should appreciate it. If you're on Spotify, follow us because we're the best. And we'll see you guys later.
We the best. Bye bye.